Hey everyone, the Magic Adventurer here, and today we're going to go through a brief history and overview of the creation of the Haunted Mansion. Let's go ahead and get into this. So let's start at the beginning to see where the Haunted Mansion idea even came from. That goes all the way back to when Walt Disney first had an idea for a Mickey Mouse park, which ended up becoming Disneyland. In this park, he had a main street that led to a old house on the hill. This old house ended up becoming the Haunted Mansion in the long run. The Imagineer who originally had this idea for a haunted old house was Harper Goff, and he later pulled in Ken Anderson to help write the story around his haunted house idea. His idea was going to be based around an old, dilapidated Southern style antebellum house to go into the New Orleans style land. At this time, the idea for the Haunted Mansion was going to actually be a walkthrough attraction. However, Walt didn't like the idea of an old, dilapidated house in his brand new Disneyland park. He did end up visiting the Winchester Mystery Mansion in San Jose, and he was in complete awe of the massive mansion with all of its mystery doors that would open to walls, stairs that led to nowhere, and the elevators, especially these elevators. While Walt was visiting this mansion, Ken was still coming up with the story of the Haunted Mansion, which ranged from the original story of the Haunted Mansion, which included Captain Gore, who killed his nosy bride and then hung himself. However, as we know, that is not the current storyline they ended up going with. Ken Anderson was then replaced on the project with Rolly Crump and Yale Gracie. They would then announce the 1963 opening of the Haunted Mansion in 1961. Construction then started on this amazing ride in 1961, and the exterior of the ride was completed by 1963. However, they were unable to finish the actual ride as they were behind schedule in 1963. The reasoning behind this delay was actually due to the New York World's Fair that was occurring in 1964 through 1965, where Walt played a huge part along with several Imagineers to build things that were needed for this fair. Due to this delay, Walt Disney was unable to see the finished product of the Haunted Mansion, but at the same time, there were great leaps in audio animatronic technology due to the New York's World Fair. This project ended up bringing in several more Imagineers before it was built, including Mark Davis, X Atencio, and Claude Coates. At this point, Raleigh showed Walt Disney several of his very strange ideas, including bizarre objects like coffin clocks, talking chairs, man-eating plants, candlemen, living gypsy wagons, and a mirror with a face. And Walt loved these ideas, and he gave him his own project called the Museum of the Weird, which was a restaurant-side attraction that would be something similar to the Blue Bayou at the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction. Although this concept ended up getting shelved later on, some of these very weird and bizarre objects are still in the Haunted Mansion today. Crump and Gracie were then put in charge of creating the visual illusions for the mansion by Walt Disney himself, where they intended to make the Museum of the Weird into a separate section that the guests would walk through and discover all sorts of illusions from around the world. They would see transparent ghosts and other apparitions that used the Pepper's Ghost technique, which is a very old technique from the 1800s. They were given a whole warehouse to create this amazing animatronics and illusions, and Crump tells a story that one day they forgot to turn off all the mechanics before leaving for the night, and he ended up getting a call from the cleaning crew that wanted to leave the lights on that night due to the creepiness of all the audio animatronics, ghosts, and such things like that. They ended up letting them leave the lights on, but to mess with the cleaning crew even further, they put motion sensors in the room that would turn off all the lights and turn on all of the ghost effects when it got triggered. The next morning after they installed these, Crump came into the warehouse, they saw all the ghost effects on and a broom lying in the center of the floor. He said the cleaning crew called and said they would never come back. I find that story from him absolutely hilarious. However, let's jump back into the Haunted Mansion. At this point, Mark Davis and Claude Coates were the two main designers for the Haunted Mansion at this point in time, were at a huge disagreement on whether the ride should be frightening or funny. Claude wanted it to be a scary adventure and Mark wanted it to be more silly and full of gags. However, in the end, they both got their way, where the first part of the ride would be scary with the ending being more spirited and lighthearted and funny. After Walt Disney's death in late 1966, the project quickly started to evolve and the Museum of the Weird restaurant idea was completely shelved. In addition, several Imagineers started to see a problem with the low capacity of a walk-through attraction. They even suggested at one point building two identical attractions to accommodate twice as many people. However, the development of the Omnimover style system for adventure through inner space ended up being the solution that they went with for the Haunted Mansion. They ended up calling these vehicles Doom Buggies. And I think this was a great idea because not only did they just solve the low capacity issue of all the guests, but they also are now able to control where you're looking, what you can hear at all times throughout the ride. And in addition to all of this, it makes you feel much more isolated in this big haunted mansion. They also determined that you would be led through this attraction by a ghost host, which was voiced by Paul Frees. And the attraction's popular theme song, called The Grim Grinning Ghost, was composed by Buddy Baker and was written by Exitencio. This song can be heard in almost every area of the ride with various instrumentations and tempos. With all of these crazy revolutions of the Haunted Mansion, it finally opened on August 12th, 1969. This ride featured a character in it called the Hatbox Ghost, which was only there for the first few days of operation, but was mysteriously taken out, and no one knows where the original audio animatronic for the Hatbox Ghost is now. This ride was a huge success that would bring in crowds of people to Disneyland following Walt Disney's death. This ride still stands to this day being one of the most successful and notable rides in Disneyland. On April 10th, 2015, they finally announced that the Haunted Mansion would be bringing back the Hatbox Ghost, which had been lost since the opening week of the Haunted Mansion. It is now in the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland to this day. Well, this was just a quick and brief history of the Haunted Mansion, of where it started and how it came to be. I hope you liked this video, as I'm going to be making several more like this in the future. They'll go much more in depth on every single ride in the Disney parks. Let me know what you thought down in the comments down below. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Disney. I'm the Magic Adventurer, and I'll see you next time.